Hi guys, today we're going to do a very simple copper flower which I spotted at home the other day, which I haven't done for a long while. And this is a bit of copper that I've had lying around. Well, you can see it's covered in paint and dings and bangs. Came off a job, but you can get copper in all sorts of forms. Usually I use hot water tanks if you can get hold of them. But you can use pipe unfolded. And onto that, miraculously, which I've already done, we put the flower pattern. Now I'm going to put a link in the description where you can actually download this. I hope it will work. It's on my Dropbox site. If it does, great. If it doesn't, mail me and I'll try and email it over to you. Right, so this is just cut out and put on with PVA glue, and they're numbered. I've stamped the numbers through so you know which is which. Now I'm just going to pop mark all the holes that need to be drilled. These are 332 and the centre one there is going to be quarter. Alright, once that's done, now we're going to go and drill them. Quarter in the centre, 532 in all the other holes. This won't take long. You don't really need to centre dot copper, but it makes life a bit easier. That's the quarter. Swap over the drill. Stick the 532 in. Drill the rest of them. Fairly obvious which ones need drilling. So once they're done, you can see there where it's pushed its way through rather than drilled it. Now we need to cut them out. Again, this is just with a pair of ordinary tin snips, and it's fairly basic, just follow the lines. And go in to the holes. That separates each segment. So you actually want to go with the snips down to the hole. Fairly boring, so that's why I've speeded this bit up. And I think it's fairly self-explanatory. Trim off all the ends. I'll finish off these off with a sander, just to get the rough edges off and tidy it all up a little bit. Once you've got all the bits off, take the paper off. Now you've got your basic blank. It's a bit rough, but there you go. I'm just going to flatten it all out with a hide mallet. And I'm going to do the rest of them like that and tidy them all up a little bit with a grinder or sander. There we go, got them all cut out, sanded up, ready to go. Before we can start putting them together, we need a stem to put them on. So we'll put them to one side and we'll get on the anvil and do a bit of basic forging. Now this is going to be a bit of 8mm round. I want to heat up about ½ an inch or less and upset it, or bump it up, or make it larger, whatever you like to call it. Now really that heat's a bit long, I'm just being very lazy. What I should have done was used a bit of cold water. Have a little pot of cold water and just hold it over the water bosh and just cool out the bit that you don't want hot, so that you just literally have the 1/2 inch on the end hot. It stops it buckling basically, which you can see that's happening quite readily. So I was a bit lazy. You just want to keep doing this, and what you want to try and end up with is sort of an elongated egg shape. This is going to be the sort of, I don't know what you call it, sort of the bud behind the flower. I'm no florist or whatever you call them, botanist, but it's the bud bit behind the flower. I really should have cooled that down, that behind there. It's making hard work for myself. See how I move around the anvil. Oh no, going out of focus. Keep it moving. So you don't get too many flats on it, and you can't really see there, it won't focus properly, but you can see the general idea that I'm getting this bit of an egg shape on the end. Now, I'm sort of quite happy with how big that is. You can make it bigger if you like. We're now going to thin down the stem a little bit and try and make it look a little bit more organic. So we hang the upset bit over the edge so we don't damage that, and then just draw it out a little bit. Again, like we always do with everything, go to square first, square it off. You don't need to worry too much about keeping this neat, because we want it rough to make it more organic looking, which is why I've swapped hammers now. I'm going to use the rounded end to give it some texture. That's the word I was looking for, texture. So we're using the rounded part of the hammer quite randomly really, and putting it over the beak is a really good way of doubling the effect, because you're obviously getting the round from both sides. It's a really quick, nice way of giving a random effect. Obviously you want to keep it reasonably straight still, but you get the idea. Can't really get the effect because it won't focus, but you'll see later on what's actually happened to it. Just one last little go, a little bit more. Obviously this isn't, I haven't got a project for this, this is just something I fancy doing, so if I was doing it for a specific design, obviously it might need to be longer or shorter or made out of thinner or thicker, whatever, but this is just for a demo. There you go, again, just can't really see it, but you'll get the idea later. Right, now I've cooled it down and we're going to centre it with the drill. You see that sort of dent in the end? That's not done on purpose, that's happened purely from forging, which is quite handy. Get my little centre drill, bit of cutting paste, and I'm doing it this way, let it sort of flat, so I can get an idea of that it's going in straight. You could always set this up in your pillar drill if you've got a vise with a hole going through the bed. But I can't be bothered to strip the vise down, or the drill down, to put the vise on and everything just for this one. So just going to centre it up with this. Unfortunately my pilot drill's not very sharp, but now we've got it going basically straight. And put it in the other way up so I can lean on it a bit more. This is a 5mm drill, I think it is. I don't know what that is in Imperial, but I want to put a 6mm tap through it, or down it. Obviously that's sort of 1/4 inch, so whatever you would normally drill out for a 1/4 tap. Doesn't need to be very deep. It's only a bit of copper you're holding on, so it hasn't got to be right the way through. Bit more cutting compound. It's really good stuff. This is, it's the stuff you use for tapping and drilling and all sorts. I don't know what, can't remember what it's called. I think it's CT90 or something ridiculous. But it really does make drilling and tapping so much easier. That'll probably do it. Gone in about 5/16, I suppose. So now I'm going to tap it with a 6mm tap. We'll start with a second taper. A first taper would be almost too long before it'd bottom out before it started cutting threads, really. So starting with a second taper. Once you've got it going in straight and it's bitten, you can start winding. Back it off every other thread or every other turn just to break the chip off, and then go gently, because you'll find the end, which is there. Don't want to go too hard or you'll snap it. Now I'm going to put a bottom tap in just to finish the thread off, and because the thread's not very deep, I want to be able to use the maximum amount of thread. So I'm going to put the bottoming one in just to clean out the last couple of threads, which, as you can see, isn't much. Let's give it a bit of a clean off, cutting stuff off. And I don't know if you can see, yep, there, it's focused quite well there. You can see the hole threaded. Now we can start to assemble. Oh, what we'll need for assembly is a little bolt. It doesn't have to be a slotted head, it can be an ordinary bolt, Allen headed bolt, whatever you like. That's going to hold it all together. So, oh, now you can see the texture now a bit better. It's rough, much more organic, much more normal looking, or natural looking. Right, so we're going to start with this little one, the star, and we're just going to bend and gently down each branch, or whatever you call it, of the star, and then hook the very end back. Make it like a sort of a little basket. You don't have to be too accurate with these. You know, nature, although it's wonderful, it's open to interpretation. Right, you don't want to close it up too much to start with, so that's a sort of general idea, because you've got to get it over your sort of your bud base, and then you can close it up, get it fitting much tighter. And the easiest way to do this is put your bolt in, and just tighten it down and top of your bud, and then you can start straightening things up, pushing them in, pulling them out, generally getting it looking nice. There we go, see, it sort of fits around the bud. There's going to be lots of tweaking going on, so you don't have to be too accurate, but right, now then, check your numbers and see which one's got to go on first, and that's that one. Now this copper's really tough, you can see it's gone really hard. And the easiest way to soften it up is just stick it in the fire or in a blowtorch, get it quite dull red, and then quench it straight into cold water. And that's what I've done there, and that's gone like butter. Really, really soft. Copper work hardens quite quickly, so you might need to do it several times if you're playing about with it a lot. So stick it on, bend your individual petals or whatever you call them up. So I'm not really a flower person, so you know, you can have a look at nature to see what this should really look like. I don't even know what sort of flower this is supposed to be, and I'm only doing what I was taught many years ago. It's not from looking at nature, it's from how I was taught to make one of these. And as you can see, the leaves, or the individual pieces, slot into each other. Now all these are pretty hard, so I'm going to go and anneal them, soften them up a treat. And there we go, doesn't take long. Literally all you do is heat it up to sort of a dull red, straight in the water, soft as butter. And do the same with all the others, and they sort of interlace with each other, the individual, I don't know what to call them, petals I suppose. And you'll find there's lots and lots of fiddling. Obviously if I'd probably done many of these, I would know how to do it, but I haven't done one of these for many years, so it's all a bit of a fiddle again. And then you want to offset the petals as well from the one below, and then the next one sort of offset a bit more. They all need pulling up quite tight, or tighter the further up you go. That's the next one in, so it's still too big, wants pulling up a bit more. The beauty of doing this in copper is that it is very malleable. I dare say you could make them in very light sort of 20 gauge or 22 gauge steel. There's no reason why you can't. It's just that copper is very easy to work with. If you can't get hold of it easily, no reason why you can't use steel. And this last one is going to come up quite tight because it's going to sort of finish the flower off and sort of hide your bolt in the middle. And that's going to go in the middle there, which it won't at the moment because it's too big, but you get the idea. You can see it coming together there. As I say, it's going to take a little bit of fiddling about, but once that's on there, it'll look quite nice. So I'm going to stick this bolt in, get it in. That's it. And then slot them all together, give them a fiddle about. So save me wasting your time. I'm going to go away and do that and come back and show you the results. Alright, a few minutes fiddling, and there you go. I think you'll see that looks quite nice. So I'm no florist, but it don't look bad. And I actually had to change the bolt in the middle in the end. I've put an Allen headed bolt in, socket headed or whatever you call it now, because the one I did before was too short. So I just cut one slightly longer, because the 5 thicknesses of copper actually was too much, or not, you know, too much thickness. So anyway, there you go. And more artistic of you can stick some leaves on and make it look something nice. There you go. You can use it in all sorts of decoration, gates, railings, I don't know what. Limited to your imagination. Well, till next time, hope you've enjoyed it.